but then he stopped and said, "Okay, I have a secret that I've been keeping from you." I just remember feeling so alone. I just had this click moment. Welcome to my car. If you're new here, my name is Abby Joy. I am a wife and a mom of 2. I'm an American and living in Switzerland. My husband is Swiss, that's why I live here. And I have been making a series going through my old journals. This is, I guess, part 4. And just like going back and reading different passages and sharing with you what I was going through, and in the hopes of either sharing beauty with you or sharing my own journey that could possibly help somebody else. I had the opportunity to get out of the house a little bit today, and so I decided to drive somewhere with a beautiful view and film a video for you, because I've been having a lot of trouble finding other time and space to film these kinds of sit down and chat types of videos. So I brought my old journal, which is the one that most encompasses the time that I was in Florence, Italy, studying art. It was a very hard time for me emotionally. It was a beautiful time in my life, and during that time I just wondered, like, why was I struggling so much? Because it was just such a beautiful, wonderful time, and it makes me really sad that I feel like I missed so much of it because I was just struggling internally so much. And thankfully now I do feel like I have a lot more of an understanding of why I was feeling the way that I was and what was going on internally, which I'll share a lot of that with you. But yes, let's get to it. So just opening it up, I have a bunch of pictures here that these were actually, I'm pretty sure, pictures that I had hanging in my little apartment in Florence. They're just different ones that I've taken. Oh, it's one of my mommy with the doggy, Viney, that I had just to make my place a little bit homier. Oh, these are actually my wedding vows, which I have absolutely no idea why they're in here, because I definitely hadn't written them at that time. Oh yeah, these are the prints that got me into art school. They were part of my application of paintings that I did, that I got accepted with and for. So I feel like I need to give you a little bit of context. So I had been in Switzerland, as I talked about in my last video. It was a really crazy long story about trying to get a visa to be able to go to school. I got my visa something like a week and a half before school started. I was 19 at the time, and I went to, it's called Angel Academy. It's a school that specifically teaches classical realism, and I loved it, and I learned so much. That is the context. January 12th, 2018. Today marks 1 week since I arrived in Florence. It feels almost like a lifetime. Not quite, but yes, it feels like much more than just a week. I've actually changed quite a bit, I believe. At least the way that I feel has changed. And wow, I'm so passionate about art. I seriously am so passionate about it, and I love it so much. I was serious about that. For example, yesterday as I walked home, it was raining slightly, and of course I forgot my umbrella. So I walked 35 minutes in the rain with wet feet, cold, hungry, and feeling so sick, like my minor cold had turned into something deathly. But despite all of that, I felt so happy, thinking of what I just learned at school. I just love art. The hours tick by so quickly at school, as if they're eaten up with the lead of my pencil. I think it hasn't really settled completely that I'm actually living in Italy, and I'm quite sure that it's because I left my heart in Switzerland. Yes, so I remember still so clearly the feeling when I first got there. So imagine I was 19 years old, and I just decided to move to a foreign country. And so Matthias came with me. He stayed in a hotel like for a couple of days just to help me get settled and make sure everything was okay with my apartment and stuff like that. And then he left a day or two, I think, before school started. And I just remember the feeling standing in the train station watching him leave, and just, it was like this debilitating weight just came on me, and I just remember thinking, I am so alone. Like, literally the closest person that I know, that I've met and talked to, is on that train going to another country. And so I know absolutely no one in this country. I feel so alone. Anyways, that was really tough. And I do also, just before I keep going, I do want to say I met some wonderful people at school that I still am sometimes in contact with. Yes, so I just wanted to say that. Okay, this is a funny story. I remember, so January 28th, 2018. I've had an interesting few days. I got home from school around 9 on Friday night and saw that my door was broken. It had been broken into and I couldn't open it. Long story very short, there was a gas leak in my building and they needed to get in to check if it was in here. So that led to 5 guys that I'd never seen before, knowing obviously where I live, that I live alone, have no one to call in this city, and that my door is very fragile. I did feel just a tad unsafe. But my sweet neighbor fixed the door enough so that it could close enough for the night. Then yesterday consisted mostly of sitting around until it got fixed, since I couldn't leave until it was. I then went to school for 2 hours, worked on my barg, that's the drawing that I was working on, then came home and talked with Matu for 5 hours. There is a lot going on that I haven't really had the chance to process through because I've been so busy. I've also, I think, tried to avoid it a bit because it feels silly or dumb, like it shouldn't be something hard. But not being engaged is still really hard. I think I hope for it every time I'm going to see Matthias. When it didn't happen last time, I was so disappointed, and then of course, I'll be going there in 2 weeks. I sort of had that hope that he would propose then, or at least this month. That hope was a bit broken last night as we spoke, though, because he told me to expect him to be quite busy, as he'll be doing a lot of stuff with the wedding. He was helping his friends plan a wedding, and I was going to be going there. And then also, of course, he told me that he won't be able to come in February here, because he has different meetings and things that he has. So there go my hopes of getting engaged this month, and all my excitement of having him be here soon, or seeing him often after this long month is over. I feel really disappointed, but I'm glad at least about the engagement, that my hopes got broken, because now I might be able to relax a bit more while I'm there, and not be expecting it and not be let down hard when it doesn't happen. But I can't lie, hearing that he can't come in February really does break my heart a little bit. I want to know how realistic it is for us to see each other every 2 weeks, because if it's not, I need to know, because the disappointment will be heartbreaking. Anyways, so, yeah, that brings me to a really big topic. As I was there, as you can hear, I was just waiting for him to propose to me, and we were already obviously talking about a wedding in summer, and but it just felt like why is he just not proposing? And another thing that was really hard during that time is a really close friend of mine got engaged right around that time as well, and I think she had been in a relationship for way less time than I had been with Matthias, and so that felt really hard as well. And so it was just like this pressure building, like I want to move on in life. I want to dream about a wedding. I want to dream about where I'm gonna live next, because also this is just, it felt like a really hard in between season where I felt really alone and stuff, and so there was a lot of pressure building there. Okay, so skipping ahead to February 19th, 2018. So I guess this was when I went back for the wedding. I think the aforementioned wedding. Wait, my mom's texting me. Hi, Mom. February 19th. Well, I suppose it's been an eventful weekend in some ways. Matthias was quite sick, which resulted in us spending a large amount of time on the couch together, which I didn't complain about. But that also led to me walking to the train station instead of him driving me, which resulted in me missing the train, returning to my roots of missing buses. I've missed so many buses in my life. So I called him. The deer came and picked me up, and we chased the train all the way to Thun, which was like almost an hour away. And there we missed it by literally a few seconds. So then I told him, whatever, I'll just buy a new ticket and then leave tomorrow. He seemed a bit not happy about that, but then he stopped and said, okay, I have a secret that I've been keeping from you, but I need to tell you now. I'm leaving tomorrow to go to Uruguay to spend a week with your parents. And I just stared at him for a long time, letting that register in my brain. It's still registering. What? One of the strongest thoughts in my mind is what an absolute ass I am. Me being so upset with him, letting all this gross bitterness and things grow in my heart just because I was getting impatient and incredibly jealous of other people who were all getting engaged. Me not trusting him, wondering why it was taking him so long, thinking that he really doesn't want this or he's afraid. And lots of things like that. Me hoping that he would call my parents to ask them for my hand, but sort of resigned to the fact that he probably wouldn't, but oh well. And him. Making all these plans since I have no idea how long, and I have no idea even what the rest of it looks like. In parentheses, at this point, I feel that if he proposed to me over the phone, I would be fine with it. I am blown away by how much he loves me. I am left speechless, in a very good way, but also in a sort of bad way, as I compare all of the recent thoughts and feelings which were in my heart towards him, feeling so angry and impatient to who he really is. And I feel now all of a sudden like a spoiled little girl, because I really believe that the missing of trains and discovering of the secret was a gift from God for me. I feel sorry that his surprise was spoiled. Matthias made a comment as we drove home about God probably saving me from something since I missed the train, and I said, oh yes, he definitely did. Because he saved me from the increasing bitterness in my heart towards Matthias because of our delayed engagement. He taught me a good lesson at the expense of Matthias's wonderful surprise, and now my heart is simply mush. I feel no hardness or bitterness, just soft, humble, overwhelmed by so much love, which I really, truly feel that I don't deserve. It's simply another expression of how much God loves us, how outrageously good he is, when there's absolutely nothing that we could do to deserve it. Okay, I need to have some more tea. Oh man, I wish I brought some snacks. Okay, now it's coming to the exciting part. I feel like I need to give a little bit of context. So, you have a lot of the context already, just everything that was going on in my heart and stuff. And so I felt the desire in my heart to wash his feet the next time I saw him, just as a symbolic act of loving him and serving him, and just kind of saying, like, I want to serve you for the rest of my life, even though you haven't asked me to marry you yet. Anyways, I think it's all included in here. Let's see. So, March 11th, 2018. So I guess it would have been, because I said it happened yesterday, so it would have been March 10th, 2018. I wrote, yes, I'm engaged. It happened yesterday, and it was such a simple, sweet moment. I told him that I wanted to talk to him about something and to come over a bit before he had to leave. So he came, and I washed his feet and told him all that Jesus had done in my heart. It was such a sweet time, and yes, I made him cry a little bit. So then he stood up and held me for a moment, and then said, wait a moment, and ran over to his coat and got something out of his pocket. A ring! I'm feeling so excited just reading this again. He took my hand and got down on one knee and told me how wonderful I am in so many ways, and how amazed he is at how good God is for bringing us together, or something like that. I honestly don't quite remember everything. I just remember clearly looking down into his beautiful eyes and seeing a stream of tears flowing out of them, feeling his hand squeezing mine and asking me to marry him. How could I say no, I said, followed by yes. So he put a beautiful ring on my finger, all before 10 o'clock. And as he held me, we prayed and dedicated everything to Jesus. Then we went out for a wonderful brunch and spent such a great day together. Okay, I need to have some more tea. So just to give you, again, a little bit more perspective about how everything really was. So this is March 14th, like literally just a few days later. So I wrote, I stayed home today as I was sick, and now I'm feeling much more sick than just in body, and I really can't figure out what's going on. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been so incredibly tired and burnt out. I thought to myself at one point last week, I've never felt this tired before. It's this sort of fatigue which is felt deep down, and I really don't know what caused it. How did I get here? What went wrong? I look back over the whole time I've been here so far, and though it has been great, most of it has been so difficult, with that sort of overcast feeling to it. The happy moments and moments of true peace stand out as the minority, and that shouldn't be that way. It's been such a struggle, and it shouldn't be so. My life is like a fairy tale or something from a book, but it doesn't feel like I'm living an abundant life. Oh man, I remember feeling that way so much. Like, my life is literally a movie, and I just feel so dead inside somehow. So I think this maybe would be a good moment to get into my perspective now on this time. So this whole process, which I will definitely talk more about in future videos, but I feel like the time in Florence really kind of set me off into a really hard time emotionally. This time was really, I had never experienced such inner turmoil, and I remember thinking so often, I 100% understand why people drink or why they do drugs or why they do anything just to make it stop, like just to stop feeling this turmoil. And I do think there were so many factors involved for sure. I was living in a really, really dark, teeny tiny apartment. Like, I feel like if you make this car like several meters higher, it was like basically the size of my apartment, and it was so dark. I was living alone, a 19-year-old in Italy, feeling vulnerable, and I did have friends, but I still didn't feel like I could 100% relate to them, and I remember having struggles breathing from anxiety and just sobbing and weeping all the time. And I must say, those times were some of the times that I felt God the closest, and I'm so thankful for that. And I can honestly remember I remember especially this one night when I went to bed and I had just been crying in my bed in so much pain that I didn't even know what it was from, and I literally could just feel God holding me, and I could somehow, not audibly, but just somehow internally hear him humming over me. And I remember waking up several times throughout the night, and it was like I could still hear that, and it was just like I'm gonna start crying almost, but like, I just remember feeling so alone walking through the city streets and feeling like there's nobody in this country that really loves me or wants to hear about my day in the evening or anything. I'm so alone, but then just feeling God's loving arms around me constantly, and just this knowing like he is with me. He is with me. Sometimes I don't feel it, but he is with me. And then there were times when I could feel it so clearly and significantly. And even though I know that was not his plan, like I don't think he said, oh, I'm gonna put Abby in this really tough situation so that she'll need to lean into me, but it's just I was in a tough situation and he was there. And those moments of feeling him, it proved to me so much his realness, and made me feel like, yeah, I can never leave that. I can never move away from that. He's my home away from home. He is he's the love when there's no love elsewhere available. Anyways, and so going into now, looking back with a lot of knowledge that I have now just within myself and things that I've learned. So it was already several months ago now, but I just had this click moment. I had started going to therapy, which just helped me so much, and my consultant really helped me kind of think through these things. But how do I even explain this? So I learned the concept that us as adults, we're just going through life, and different experiences can trigger us back to feeling something that we felt often in our childhood or even our teenage years, or can be other things. But the thing is, like, it can take a situation that would be anyways maybe difficult and turn it into unbearable. And that's the difference of something that's difficult or unbearable. And so she was helping me kind of work through and realize that a lot of the things that I was experiencing, maybe, yes, I was in a lot of very difficult life situations, that's for sure. I think it would have been hard for anybody, probably. But the thing that made it so unbearable was that it was throwing me back into literally like my child brain. And I just all had it click one day, and it was like, how have I never seen this before? And that was, so I was 9 years old when we moved to Uruguay, and we were all talking about as a family, my parents did a really good job, I think, of getting my brother and me into the boat and just asking us how we felt about everything and keeping us along for the whole journey, the whole process. We were all really excited about it, and okay, this thing that God is really speaking to us about, and okay, wow, we're gonna move to another country, and he miraculously provided us this beautiful farm that we could live on and all these things. And then it was really, really hard for me saying goodbye to my friends and leaving everything familiar and then going to a foreign country. And then I remember being there and I felt very, very alone. And I think if anyone else watching is a third culture kid, I think you can really relate that it's just like, you don't feel like you belong anywhere. I never belonged in Uruguay with my friends there, even though I tried so hard. I never was truly Uruguayan. And then anytime we would go back to the States, I definitely didn't fit in there and always felt misunderstood and out of place, and never felt like I could really have truly close friends or just having a sense of having roots somewhere, and just all of these things. And so then it was like, fast forward to adulthood, again, this thing that I feel so excited about, that God is leading me there, and then it happens and the goodbye is really hard, and then being there is so hard, and I can't find friends, and I feel misunderstood, and I don't belong anywhere, and all of these things just like really triggered me back into literally feeling like I was that 9-year-old girl again who felt out of control and really afraid and very, very alone. And so I think that was just really unbearable for me in that time, and has been really unbearable for a long time. Yeah, so that is a very wide look into this whole process. And anyways, now it makes so much sense to me just looking back, and yeah, I obviously did not understand it back then. Why am I in so much turmoil when my life is literally like a movie? But now I understand it was just the circumstances I was encountering was just reminding me, even I think on some level neurologically throwing me back into these feelings of being this lost, alone little girl. So anyways, yeah, I hope that can help some of you, maybe to just kind of clue into maybe some struggles that you're having or something like that. But anyways, let's move on. Skipping to the very last entry in here. This is May 17th. I think it was about when I was leaving. I don't know if it was exactly the day, but I was at least making preparations. So this has been a beautiful season, deep in the nature of it, and looking back on it now, it truly was beautiful. And life is so wonderful. Rahel is getting married in just a few hours. That was my close friend who got engaged before me. Oh. I'm not there, and that is painful, but at least I can share in her joy from here. And in 100 days from today, I will be getting married as well, to the man who has not ceased to amaze me since I met him. I'll be starting a life together with him and starting my art career, quote unquote, whatever that could mean. Paint for hours and days and minutes and somehow make money with it. I'll really get to live out my passion and love every day and every night this wonderful man of mine. I'm finishing up the season here, early, but I think not prematurely, for I've had peace like I haven't had for a long time ever since making the decision to leave. I feel so much peace on it. I will miss it and look back on this time with nostalgia at times. Yeah, I was right. And I'm sure goodbyes will be a bit painful, as they do tend to be, but there is such a grace on the closing of this season. It truly hasn't been a diamond or pearl or purified gold or simply anything which is precious that has undergone pressure or agitation or extreme temperatures. Thank you, Jesus, for all that is coming and all that is past. You are good, and you make life so wonderful, so wonderfully beautiful. I love you. I love you forever. Make my heart ever tender and ever hungry for you. Thanks for being close. We'll always be together. And that is the end of this journal. Oh man, it's so crazy just looking back on those times, and oh man, I've come so far since then and also struggled so much since then. Yeah, well, what else can I say? I just really hope that could help some of you. I hope you enjoyed the fun experiences, the engagement, and just the descriptions of being in Florence, and I hope that you could also get something out of the hard parts. And yeah, if anything, just know that if you're struggling and you don't even know why, and you feel like you're not even allowed to struggle because your life is so beautiful or so perfect, you're not alone, and it is okay to struggle. Your pain is valid no matter what situation you're in. If you are in an abusive home, or just in a really terrible school situation, or if you are living the dream but you're still struggling, your pain is valid no matter what, and you're not alone. Like, you can literally reach out to me and message me, and I'll tell you again that you're not alone and that you're loved. So, anyways, it is getting very chilly in here. My feet are so cold, but if you followed along this far, thank you. It just means so much to me. I can really hardly believe that there are so many people that enjoy listening to my story, and thanks for watching. And if you want to see more, subscribe and like. That really helps me and lets me know that you want to have more of these, because yeah, I think I'll only keep doing it as long as lovely people like yourself keep watching. Okay,